past couple months, the sentiment in the crypto market has been almost the worst I think I've ever seen. Bitcoin's price is currently back to the beginning of 2025. And for the altcoins are way down from where they started 2025. So the whole year has just been slow, boring, painful for a lot of crypto holders. Recently, we've seen explosive growth in the AI sector and also in commodities, things like gold, silver, rare earth, which a lot of those rare earth minerals tie into AI. And so there's been a lack of interest in crypto as a whole. Although Bitcoin has done well this cycle, there's been very favorable regulatory conditions. And it's only recently that the low cap stock index, the Russell 2000, has actually pushed its all-time high. This is happening really over the past couple weeks for the first time since 2021. And this could be a leading signal for a risk-on environment. Also, things like high-yield corporate credit bond ETFs have been stable, holding the previous 2024 levels. If we were truly in a risk-off bear market environment, you would think low-cap stocks and high-risk corporate credit would be the first things to be dropped by smart money. They would drop it like a hot potato if we were truly in a risk-off environment. But we're not seeing that. So the markets overall are willing to accept more and more risk. So it's not risk off necessarily. So why did Bitcoin dump? Why have we been not really seeing all too much positive price action for crypto? Well, we did have the largest liquidation event in crypto history take place right at the new all-time high. Unfortunately, that's just how it played out. We saw massive cascading liquidations. Market makers had their arms chopped off. There was forced selling as a result all the way down. The lower the price went, the more market makers had to sell. It was a real mess. And so the fundamental issue of the largest liquidation event ever is what caused crypto to enter a downtrend. If I go back to the HYG high yield corporate credit ETF, looking at this because this is a high risk, high yield, high risk, right? The HYG on the bottom. This is something that usually drops first in a bear market, and it aligns perfectly with all Bitcoin cycles. Almost every top and every bottom has perfect alignment with Bitcoin. You know, it just aligns perfectly every cycle. 2021 top, they're both coming down. And now you see that there's been also very clear alignment in this cycle between the HYG and Bitcoin. If you look at the top right, there's been no major pullback in the HYG and Bitcoin has fallen. It's a little bit strange, like we've diverged away. We've made a major move. And again, it's more to do with the largest liquidation event in Bitcoin history than anything else, right? This is what people don't seem to understand, or they sort of forget that we just had the largest liquidation event in crypto history, and people blame the dump on everything else other than that event. And I find that to be kind of strange. It's pretty clear. And so I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the HYG. It's at the end of a consolidation. So what does this all mean for Bitcoin? Well, in my opinion, Bitcoin can trade in this range sideways for a lot longer than people think. You know, people always expect that the price will go straight up or straight down, but oftentimes it's just going sideways. It's just chopping. You know, for most of the 2021 bull market, it was just a sideways range the whole time. Turns out it was just sideways. You know, and you only spend usually a couple weeks going up at a time before you enter a chop zone. And we saw, 2 or 3 big weeks down here. Most likely you're going to see the prices ranging for quite a while. And I think this is where the altcoins will have their shot at regaining dominance. You know, Bitcoin broke below the parabolic trend. That is a signal of a decrease in momentum, but it's not the end of the world necessarily if QT is coming to an end. If there's going to be a less pressure on the low cap assets, we're already seeing low cap stocks breaking out for the first time since 2021. There's some risk on signals taking place. Bitcoin settling up and chopping sideways might be actually exactly what the altcoins need at this point to get some momentum, right? Now that we have the right conditions from the Fed, which is really the most important thing, or central banks globally, if Bitcoin were to settle up in this range, that would allow the altcoins to regain dominance. And that is the scenario that I'm currently focused on right now. If you look at the Wall Street cheat sheet and you ask yourself, what is the emotion that we have seen the most in this cycle? Or at least what I should say is, what is the emotion that we're seeing right now in this cycle, especially for the altcoins? Well, it's clearly not euphoria. It's not complacency, anxiety, denial, or even panic anymore. It's somewhere anger, and you can't even see it on the right there, depression. Have you noticed, right? Have you asked yourself, how do you feel if you're holding alts or whatever? How do you feel right now? I think people have gotten over all of these emotions, and now we're sitting over here. Depression. It's more of a depressed feeling that I see across social media. There's no enthusiasm, there's no panic, there's none of that. It's just depression. That is the lowest emotion on the Wall Street cheat sheet. And look at where the altcoin versus Bitcoin dominance chart is sitting right now. It's all the way down here, and we're ending QT. I think the setup is pretty good. I mean, if you say on social media right now, like, time to buy altcoins, people say you're insane. They'll come at you, they'll call you names, they'll say all these things. It's a really good sign if you're a buyer. It's a great sign. Usually when people think you're out of your mind is when the masses think you're out of your mind is usually when you're on the right side of the trade. And I think people will probably be surprised at what happens moving forward. I mean, crypto always surprises people. Just as everyone thinks it's completely over is really the time that things begin to change as QT comes to an end. It may not be a fast recovery necessarily, but if you place the Wall Street cheat sheet, on this chart right here, we are in depression. And the next stage is QT ending, QE coming in, and a slight recovery, or I should say a slow recovery, slow and then sudden later, most likely. There has been a lot of damage done to confidence. It might take time to get people to sort of, forget their pain and rebuild that confidence again. So the recovery will require waves and a lot of time. I think that we're about to begin that shift. A lot of people are talking about, selling on the next pump. I hear that everywhere. People are looking for the exit door, and that will be entry liquidity. The opposite of exit liquidity, when people sell the first pump thinking that they're doing the smart thing, and that becomes entry liquidity, essentially, for bigger players looking to take an entry after this 4-year downtrend. It looks like a pretty good deal down here, if you ask me. But I guess we'll see. So here I'm looking at Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. Bitcoin has reached a new high today. We actually tested slightly above that December 3rd high, and we've seen a little bit of resistance. But what you're looking at on the screen is an indicator that I published today called Volume Profile Vision. And what this is essentially a complete overhaul on the volume profile tool that you guys are familiar with. The one that you're familiar with probably looks something like this. And to me, I love the core concept of volume profile. I think it's one of the most important indicators you could possibly use as a trader and investor, right? It gives you an idea on where the institutions are trading, right? It shows you where the area of most interest is. Very important tool that you guys should all use. But what I've never liked is the way that it looks, the way that it plots. It gets in the way. It just doesn't feel right to me. It's never felt right. And so what I did was a complete overhaul of volume profile vision, free to use on TradingView. And to me, this fits really nicely in my mind. It makes it so much better, so much easier to spot the value areas, the high volume nodes, the low volume nodes where there's usually big swings, which is actually sitting right above us, this low volume node, this low volume area where there's not much historic trading. If we get a breakout, what this is suggesting is that the next target would come in somewhere up here, above 100,000, because while there's not much interest in this level, institutions can't really trade in here because there's not enough liquidity. So what does the price do? The price usually speeds through that zone to the area of higher volume where bigger players can make bigger decisions and bigger trades. That's why this is important. You can click that link below, add it to your chart right now. Volume Profile Vision, free to use. There is a long description that explains everything about this indicator. You got nothing to lose and only something to gain by adding this to your chart. Now, if you're a member of the Patreon Discord, you get early access into seeing these indicators before I publish them. Also, there's an invite-only list for my members. If you're in my Patreon Discord and you DM me on Discord, your TradingView username, I will add you to the invite-only list for all of the non-public indicators, scripts, strategies, etc. Become a Patreon member, join the Discord, send me your TradingView username once you've done so, and I'll add you to the list. The only way to get in the Discord is by being a Patreon member. Being a part of a community is essential if you're a trader investor, because information and data are the things that will enhance your performance. It's not all just charts. Having people to talk to, new information coming in all the time, that's what you need to make the decisions at the right time. And my community comes together every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time for a morning live voice chat where I share my screen. I do a presentation. Members join in. We talk together, share information. If that's something that interests you, join the Patreon and get in the Discord and join our morning voice chats, which you find right here in the voice chat tab, right? Once you join the server, it's under voice chats. To get in here, you have to be a Patreon member and then connect Discord to Patreon. All the instructions are there for you once you join Patreon. Signing up for Blowfin with my link will save you 20% on all your trading fees. That's a huge amount, especially if you're an active trader. That could mean thousands upon thousands of dollars every week, every month. It's very rare to find a deal like this across really any exchange, so definitely take advantage of this. There's also additional deals looking to the left here, deposit bonuses available until December 15th. And that's it, guys. Hope to see you in the next video.